Live from Studio A, WTLK, The Thunder.
Some leftover news from New York Comic Con. There was a handful of new number ones and writing teams for different Marvel comics and characters announced for 2020. Chief among them is a new Thor number one with Donny Cates as the writer, and Iron Man 2020 with Christos Gage. A little earlier in the show than I normally do it, but Addams Family animated movie came out that had quite a bit of star power as far as cast voices go, with voices like Charlize Theron, Chloe Grace Moretz, and I'll throw in Amy Garcia in there because I do like any sort of reminder that I got to meet her at Dragon Con, and it was actually a lot better than I expected, so it's a nice little warm-up start to the Halloween season of movies, which is surprisingly has a little bit more Halloween and horror theatrical releases in October than what usually happens, because it feels like they release it all other months of the year, and then October is like devoid. Well, maybe not so much, because there used to be that annual Saw or Paranormal Activity that came out for the longest time, and also the new Halloween 2018 came out last year. But there have been some times where it's just been like, this seems pretty slim. You just got those lower mid-card movie releases here, and I'm not feeling it. But you know what? You're going to have a Disney movie on Thanksgiving weekend and a Star Wars in December, so it's all good. But no, Addams Family, very good. Also, we're still really excited for Zombieland this coming weekend. Tune in to the new episode of Earth Station 1, or as I like to call it, the First Station of Midgard, because I was on it, and that's all you need to know. No, I'm just kidding. No, I Ko-fi'd my way through the gauntlet known as the Geek Seat, and then talked to some very cool dudes, including Mike Faber and Mike Gordon, whom I'm sure you would have heard on Thunder Talk and Nerd Bliss. They were featured in both shows. Both of them have been featured on both shows, I do believe. I definitely know Mike Gordon has, because we talked to him at SD Comic Con about Tiki Zombie, which is a book you also should be reading. But yeah, we talked Joker, we get into some good stuff. It was a really good episode. Go listen to it. Also, so we had premiere week this past week, which included Star Wars Resistance, Batwoman, and Supergirl premiering the exact same time as Hell in a Cell. Black Lightning premiered last Monday, The Flash premiered on Tuesday, and Supernatural premiered on Thursday, the final season of Supernatural. And this week, it all gets complete with the final season of Arrow premiering this Tuesday right after Flash. Alright, so down to wrestling news. Or recaps. Yeah, I mean, really, this Raw was mostly filler. Just a lot of random matches under the guise of superstars trying to up their stock, because there was the draft that came this Friday, and part 2 of it is on tonight's Raw. That'll be covered on next week's WTLK. But it started out quite randomly and with a bang. Wow, that's kind of a double-sided meaning, because it started off with Rusev in the midst of being beaten the crap out of in the ring by King Corbin and Randy Orton, and then on the Videotron is Bobby Lashley wearing his robe, crawling into his bed with his wife, who's telling him that she took everything of his, and then them turning out the lights, presumably to, do it, and then Rusev looked on in horror and heartbreak, and then proceeded to manhandle Corbin and Orton in ways that I definitely have never seen Randy Orton be manhandled. But Rusev absolutely destroyed them, which was good because normally with that kind of thing, Mike Kanellis, uh, the person getting cuckolded would just get straight up destroyed after a moment like that. Also, the Viking Raiders earned a tag title opportunity on tonight's Raw after destroying Dolph Ziggler and Robert Roode after very believably and good long-term storytelling, running through all the local jobbers and then actually going through the legitimate tag team division, including beating the OC twice, and also getting themselves just counted out and not actually losing in that tag team tornado from a month ago. So they'll face Ziggler and Roode for the Raw tag team titles tonight on Raw. Also, Tyson Fury and Braun Strowman had their hold me back moment as Tyson Fury came to the ring with the mic that Raw offered him after the Friday night SmackDown premiere, where he took offense to Braun Strowman doing Braun Strowman things to him, and he demanded an apology. Braun was just like, bro, I was just messing with you all in good fun, but if you're gonna take it seriously like a douche, you can get these hands. And Tyson Fury was like, no, actually you can get these hands. And then pretty much the whole Raw roster, at least mid-carders on down, including Cesaro, which was quite disrespectful. No, not really. It's all good. But yeah, so all of them were trying to hold the two back, and it kind of dragged on quite a bit. And then Braun Strowman went back into the curtain, and then I think it was Charlie Caruso. She was like, yo, what happened? Blah, blah, blah. And then Braun was like, you know what? Fuck this. I'm going to run back out there, and I'm just going to try to beat on him some more, even though all the other security and Raw superstars are out there. And that just still continued. And of course, that all led into a press conference on Friday afternoon, which pretty much told us that everybody guessed would already happen ever since that episode in the Friday Night SmackDown premiere, would be that at Crown Jewel on Halloween afternoon, if you're on the East Coast, 1 p.m. Halloween afternoon, Cain Velasquez would be facing Brock Lesnar for the WWE Championship, and also that Cain Velasquez is officially retired from MMA and has signed a multi-year deal with the WWE, and Tyson Fury and Braun Strowman will be facing each other at Crown Jewel as well. So over in NXT, pretty much a whole lot of good stuff. Lio Rush defeated Drew Gulak for the Cruiserweight Championship, especially using Eddie Guerrero's old finisher. And Walter handed Kushida his first loss in the WWE, surprisingly yet not surprisingly. And also Pete Dunne versus Damian Priest was announced for next week. Also, Velveteen Dream and Tommaso Ciampa had a sort of interesting little alliance during the promo cut where Velveteen wants a shot at Roderick Strong to get back his NXT North American Championship, and Tommaso Ciampa is about ready to pounce and get that NXT Championship back that he only lost because of injury. And of course, there's a little video package on Finn Balor, but no word on what exactly he'll be doing in the near future. Though a video released by IGN this morning, which showed a triple threat between Adam Cole, Tommaso Ciampa, and the Demon Finn Balor, may have been quite telling, but we'll see coming up. At the same time, on AEW Dynamite, Chris Jericho announced the first major stable of AEW has been formed, and no, I'm not counting the Elite, because that was already a thing long before. But it's Chris Jericho, Sammy Guevara, Santana and Ortiz, and Jake Hager. And when he announced Jake Hager, oh, some shots fired at WWE because the crowd was chanting "We the People," which was sort of his thing with Jack Swagger. And Jericho was like, okay, shutting that shit down now. That was a stupid thing from bad creative, and we're not talking about it anymore. He is the most feared man in MMA, Jake Hager. To which on Instagram, somebody was just like, LOL, Jake Hager isn't the most feared man in MMA. To which Jericho just replied, you tell him that. Which is just a lesson to all the trolls out there. So yeah, they all make up the inner circle, and more on them later. Jon Moxley had a match with Shawn Spears, in which he defeated him, and this is a nice little nugget for deeper WWE fans that have been paying attention over the last few years, because of course this is, in WWE terms, Dean Ambrose versus Ty Dillinger, and Shawn Spears is still flashing that perfect 10 with his fingers. So Jon Moxley defeated Shawn Spears, who was confronted by Kenny Omega with a barbed wire, is that a baseball bat? Not sure, in one hand, and also on the other side had a barbed wire broomstick in the other hand, and he wanted Moxley to pick up the broomstick and fight him, but then Kenny Omega was blindsided by Pac, not X-Pac or Tupac, just Pac, who was sitting over in commentary during the Moxley-Spears match, and then Jon Moxley had all the reason in the world to just take one of the things and hit Kenny Omega while he was down, but he decided not to do that, which means he is still definitely going with the good guy vibe that he left WWE with, but maybe a little less lunatic-y. Also nice that he has some, legit wrestling gear on and not just a pair of blue jeans like old Mr. Ambrose did. Next up, Darby Allin defeated Jimmy Havoc to earn a championship opportunity and will face Chris Jericho this coming week on Dynamite. Riho and Britt Baker, DMD, she's a doctor of some sort, defeated Emi Sakura and Bea Priestley in a really good tag team match, which I'm sure will splinter into 2 separate feuds. And then the main event, bear with me here, Chris Jericho and Sammy Guevara defeats Dustin Rhodes and Hangman Page when Sammy Guevara distracted the ref to let Jake Hager swoop in and attack Dustin Rhodes, and then Jericho hit Dustin with the Judas effect, of course naming it after Fozzie's songs. Chris Jericho and Sammy Guevara then attacked Dustin Rhodes, who, and bear with me here, Chris Jericho and Sammy Guevara attacked Dustin, and then Cody attacked them, who was then attacked by Santana and Ortiz, who was attacked by MJF, who was attacked by Chris Jericho, who was attacked by the Young Bucks, and then Jericho tried to leave until Darby Allin skateboarded down and kneed Jericho, like right in the face. And then Jericho says, I'm going to kill Darby next week, and then I'm going to kill Cody at the pay-per-view, and he was talking about doing a whole lot of killing and threw in the bitches. Okay, so Friday Night SmackDown. First off, a couple things. 205 Live, actually still a thing. There wasn't an episode during the SmackDown premiere, but there was an episode this past week. And Tom Phillips, who is a longtime commentator on SmackDown and has been around to the different shows, is now a commentator on NXT UK and 205 Live, in place of Vic Joseph, who's on Monday Night Raw. And with that little nugget, good to see Mr. Phillips back. We're going to go with the first round of the WWE Draft. Becky, the Raw Women's Champion, the man Becky Lynch, went to Raw, shock. Roman Reigns is on SmackDown. The OC is on Raw. The whole OC, AJ, Anderson, and Gallows. And The Fiend is on SmackDown, so maybe it's over. Drew McIntyre is on Raw. Or round 2, Randy Orton is on Raw. Sasha Banks is on SmackDown. Ricochet is on Raw. Braun Strowman is on SmackDown. Bobby Lashley is on Raw. Round 3, my favorite third rounder in all of sports history. Alexa Bliss is still on Raw. Lacey Evans is now on SmackDown. Kevin Owens is on Raw. The Revival is on SmackDown, which is kind of a no-duh because they've had the SmackDown tag team titles for like the last month. Natalya is on Raw, so with her and Lacey Evans being split up, I guess that feud actually is over, which reminds me, last week on Raw, there was also Natalya defeating Lacey Evans in a last woman standing match on Raw. That was pretty cool. But yeah, that feud definitely over now. Round 4, the Viking Raiders are on Raw. Lucha House Party is on SmackDown. Nikki Cross is on Raw. I don't know why I didn't just draft Alexa and Nikki at the same pick, because you can draft whole tag teams together. Just saying. Heavy Machinery is on SmackDown. The Street Profits move from NXT to Raw, so they're not just a couple of NXT dudes hanging backstage at Raw narrating what's going down. They are actually Raw superstars now. And then the undrafted free agents that have moved over. Apollo Crews stays on SmackDown. Drew Gulak, who just lost his Cruiserweight Championship, goes to SmackDown, so that'll be interesting to see where his little alliance with Tony Nese lies now that he's on SmackDown. He'll probably still appear on 205, I would guess. I mean, he's a new superstar on the SmackDown, so it's not like he's going to get used for a long time or at all. Buddy Murphy, Liv Morgan. EC3 has been drafted to Raw, so basically main event. Eric Young has been drafted to Raw. I could have sworn he retired and became a WWE producer, but apparently he's still an active superstar on Raw, but he's basically still on main event. Heath Slater is on SmackDown. He's still got kids. Sin Cara is still on Raw. Still haven't seen him since that Battle Royale and Super Showdown. And Tamina is on SmackDown after becoming 24/7 champion and then losing it right off the bat. And of course, there were still some matches that took place in between all the rounds of this draft. Started off with Roman versus Seth, and whoever wins, their brand gets the number 1 pick. And Seth picked up the DQ win when, during the match, the Fiend rose pretty much dug up from the ring and dragged Seth into hell, or the portal to hell, through the ring. And then Seth crawled out, and there was some smoke, and the Fiend poked his head out like a little fiend mole, and then the Fiend, I think, attacked him some more up at the gate, or up by the entrance, and I guess they thought maybe 5 days would be enough to make people forget about Hell in a Cell, or try to salvage something. I don't know, but pretty much he picked up the DQ win, so that's how Raw got to draft first. So pretty much it's all thanks to the Fiend that Becky is the number 1 overall pick. That's fine with me. The other match was New Day versus the OC, but before that, the New Day presented a pair of pink WWE title belts for a breast cancer survivor and her sister that was helping her through it, and then New Day had a very good match with the OC, and they picked up the win. And then finally, in the main event, a SmackDown Women's Championship rematch of Bayley versus Charlotte, and Bayley came out with a whole new look. She's not rocking the sideways ponytail anymore. She was sort of dressed mostly in black, when her Bailey buddies came up, she like chopped them down with like this razor kendo stick, and Charlotte hit her with a natural selection, and then Bailey followed up with a surprise rolly pin and got the win. She got her belt back only 5 days after losing it. And then she said, she spoke to the WWE Universe right afterwards and said, "Hey bitches, screw all of you." So Bailey, official full circle heel Bailey, not trying to be like, "Oh no, I'm still a role model." Yeah, they let that build, and now with it culminating with her losing her belt, going complete full attitude and look change, and now we officially have Sasha and Bailey as heels and both of them running SmackDown now. So it'll be interesting to see if Charlotte gets drafted to Raw, because there would be like a 3-to-1 ratio between 4 horsewomen as far as brands are concerned. I don't know. We'll see tonight. But there was a match that happened on Raw that I forgot to mention. It was a women's championship showcase of Becky and Charlotte versus the Kabuki Warriors. And yeah, the Kabuki Warriors won speaking of which, yeah, back when I hadn't seen Hell in a Cell in full yet, so I didn't realize that Asuka and Kairi Sane had actually turned heel, which was something else. And the way they beat Alexa and Nikki was Asuka sprayed this green mist in Nikki's face, like actually spit it out, like straight up reptile sort of thing, and then kicked Nikki and got the win. And yeah, Asuka spit the green mist in Becky's face, and then Kairi hit her and got the pin. And yeah, so we are now living in a world where Kairi Sane is a heel and Alexa Bliss is a babyface. So I'm cool with this reality, honestly. And you should be too, even though I'm just saying, you never thought somebody could get booed harder than Roger Goodell during the NFL draft, but Stephanie McMahon and the dry way that they did this draft was something else. It was not a good reaction, but they're just trying to make you forget that Hell in a Cell ever happened. Nay, that the only thing that happened at Hell in a Cell was the Becky-Sasha fight. And, sometimes you just gotta cool it. In fact, they're gonna keep reinforcing the fact that really the only thing that happened at Hell in a Cell was the Becky and Sasha fight, because Raw is going to start out with a similar thing like they did with Roman and Seth, and they're going to have Becky go against Sasha to determine the number 1 pick. Obviously, if Becky wins, Raw gets the first pick, and if Sasha wins, SmackDown gets the first pick. And I don't quite think we'll see a Fiend come in and giving anybody a DQ win there. I mean, unless the rumors are true and Liv Morgan's would be joining the Firefly Funhouse, which would be fantastic. But I guess we'll see. So, yeah. Drink, fight, and draft the best superstars, I guess. Oh, yeah. And also listen to that Earth Station one with Sexy Thor, Mike and Alex talking about Joker.